Miss Burleson is very innovative in her approach to any problem. She can come up with a way to fix it, and it's some way that nobody would have ever thought of. She does it with her teachers, and she does it with the kids all the time. She'll talk to them, she knows them by name, she seeks them out to see how they're doing, and she builds this whole family.
When I was hired, we had 13 new hires, and the next year, I think they hired 11 new people. So we really needed to build on us getting to know each other, like each other, and work together. And her foundation of building a family worked out so well because we got along and knew each other and felt comfortable around each other. The students had a better atmosphere. It was more family-like.
When you move into an administrative role, one of the most important things to figure out is what your school culture is, and you want to maintain their traditions, and you want to maintain that culture to a certain degree. And you want to find out who your leaders are and what direction everybody wants to go. And you also, as an administrator, have to realize that you are simply a facilitator. Your actual strengths are in the special people that actually have been doing it. So that's going to be your teachers. So in any situation, it's a collaborative effort, and the most valuable thing you can do is look at the assets of the people and build on their strengths.
She has a very strong staff. They've seen a lot of growth in their tech scores. They do a lot of activities for students that are fun, and I think the teachers have an opportunity to build those activities. They have an opportunity to participate. They have an opportunity to help the students in being successful.
I really loved Brabham just because Miss Burleson really made us feel like family, and I loved that she would just stop and talk to you, and she really knew all the students and knew what was going on, and she really, it felt like a friend, and I think that's great to have that kind of relationship with your principal.
I majored in fashion merchandising, and I really loved that industry, but my father was a teacher and an administrator, and I had the opportunity to actually teach marketing, entrepreneurship, fashion merchandising, and that was just right up my alley. And I have to be honest with you, all my life I told my parents, I am not going to be a teacher. I am not going to do that. And so I went into teaching, and I absolutely loved it. I taught high school for 12 years, mostly juniors and seniors, and I loved every minute of it. And I just had reached a point where I thought, okay, I want to do something else. Now what can I do? And that's when I decided to go into administration. And so I went to Sam Houston. The mid-management program at Sam Houston was excellent because it set a foundation for you to understand everything. You know, you went through school law and finance, and you learned the basics of things. But then when you go do your internship, the projects and the activities that you do are real life, on the job training, and you actually are being able to implement all of the theory that you've learned. And it was a very, very good program. I felt very prepared when I became an assistant principal. Dr. Brown asked me if I was interested in being a doctoral student and more of an aide working with them. And so I did. I worked for Dr. Brown and Dr. Irby, Dr. Merchant. Dr. Brown taught me many things about women in leadership positions in education.
She's great. I love her. She's always positive about everything, and she's there for everybody. She cares about everybody the same way, and she was just an awesome principal to have.
My philosophy is that every single teacher is responsible for every child that they touch. And so when you look at our coaches, for instance, yes, they want the students to play their sport, but more than anything, our ultimate goal is the success of that student. The coaches actually get a roster of their students that are in their athletics programs, and they go through and they look up all their data so that they know, is this child struggling in reading or math or science or social studies. My head coach for the boys, he's a science teacher. Now he's our PE teacher, but he's a science teacher. So man, he takes the lead and he helps them tutor in that science. So the more they know about the students, the more they're able to help them and make that student the whole student, which is what we have to have in order for them to be successful.
Congratulations on your award. You deserve it so much, and we love you.
But when I first came to Willis, my principal was Bobette Eichenberg. And she's now Dr. Bobette Eichenberg from Sam Houston. She taught me so many things, and I would have to say that I really appreciate everything that she taught me, and so many valuable lessons. And of course you always think about your roots, and my father being an administrator, and then you got to thank your parents for the personal values and things that you got, and you always have to thank your family, because I tell you what, my spouse has fed many of dog and cat. I'm here quite a bit. And I have 2 grown children, but they're part of my success because, I remember being an assistant principal and having 700 books that needed to be stickered, and the Burleson boys, they came and did it. So that's who, I think you have to always thank your family.
He grew up actually in Aldine School District. He went to Aldine High School. I still remember the little dirt road that his parents lived on when I started dating him. It's not a rich district. They don't have a lot of the things that kids in Spring or Klein have. And he wants to be able to help these kids that are in the same spot he was in, because he knows what the struggle is. He's been there. He helps them get school supplies. He's always got a prize box. And he's given the kids just so many opportunities to win some of these prizes, and some of it's just my kids' old toys. But these kids don't have those things, and they'll pick a prize. One kid, I remember him telling me about it, was so excited. He picked a Barbie doll, and some of the other kids give him a hard time, and he goes, "It's for my baby sister. She's never had a Barbie doll." There's times that he's taken Saturdays and taught English to the parents, because the parents want to help their children learn English, but they don't know English.
And people are going to say stuff like, instead of saying yes, sir, whatever, they might say, uh-huh. And it's like, what is that? What does that mean? So it was kind of like trying to teach them the lingo of what they're going to hear.
I'm just really proud of him. He's a former Marine. I was proud of him when he was a Marine. I'm proud of him as a teacher. And he's also the Girl Scout leader for my oldest daughter's troop. Now he's a volunteer firefighter.
Basically, whenever you call 911 and you're in Station 75's territory, you get Fernando to your door. And Fernando is a great firefighter. He's great at what he does. He's got a great personality, and he's very involved with the community here. He's very involved with our education program. He's just a natural teacher with the kids, of explaining to them on their level how to be safe and what to do when their house catches on fire.
The students here at Carroll are very excited when they see that they're in Mr. Martinez's class. Mr. Martinez is a very creative, exciting teacher, and I enjoy even visiting his classrooms myself, because when I go in, he's always instructing, he's sitting with the students, he's doing something special, a special activity where they get involved hands-on, and if you sit quietly enough, you'll hear soft music playing. And that was one of the things that really got my attention first, that the students are learning, soft music's playing, and they never ever really notice it, but it has a calming effect that get them to tune into what he's doing and absorb every bit of lessons and the skills that he's teaching.
I learned how to talk in English. I learned how to do read more and write more better. Cuando venimos de recreo nos cuenta cuentos y dos o tres o uno y también los pone mucho para estudiar.
Dr. Hula Gomez, she was in charge of the bilingual department there. I would definitely thank her. Going in, to college at a university level, that was something new to me. And, I always heard, oh, she's hard. And I was like, you know, I've been to boot camp, so, you know, how hard can it be, you know? So then, you know, I showed up, and yes, you know, it was a very difficult class, but she instilled in me like a little work ethic towards education. Definitely, that was one thing I'm appreciative of, because that got me to pretty much the grades that I got because of her.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher because I like learning, and Mr. Martinez was an excellent teacher, so I like being a teacher because it's learning fun. Learning is fun.
After I joined the Marines, a couple of years I got out. I was in the reserves for a while, and I went to my old elementary school, and I saw my old principal there, Mr. Odom, Weaver Odom. He was like, "Hey, would you like to come volunteer here at the school?" I went in, did some volunteer hours, and I got to work with some bilingual classes at the time, and he asked me if I wanted to get a job with the district. So he gave me a recommendation, and I went to Aldine Human Resources, and I was able to get a job as a teacher's assistant. So as I was doing that, I was able to get a scholarship through the district that paid for college, and that's kind of when I heard of Sam Houston was pretty good at criminal justice and education, so I decided, well, it's just down the road. I graduated in '99, and I went back to Odom, because he said, once you graduate, you know, come back, see me, and I'll get you a job. And I was like, oh, okay, good. But when I got back to the school, it was called Colonial Hills at the time, but I went back and I saw the sign that said Weaver Odom on the school. So I went in and I was like, oh, you know, he got his school named after him. I was like, he deserves it. He's been here for over 30 years, you know. So I went in, and that's when I found out that he had just passed away. I got to work there at least for 2 years at a school named after him. So that was, to me, that was kind of giving back to him, if nothing else, you know, that chance that he gave me.
Congratulations, Mr. Martinez!
Yeah, I'd like to thank, you know, God for giving me that opportunity that he's given me. I mean, he's given me choices and chances, and, you know, and if I wasn't a real religious person until I met my wife. You know, I thank her as well, because she's put up with so much with me, and I feel honored. I mean, I know what I did for there at Sam Houston, you know, going to college and you know, them helping me out. I mean, the GI Bill helped out too, and, you know, they were able to accept that, and you know, I feel honored that, you know, they decided that, you know, I guess let a guy like me be able to represent them in this award. So, and they were pretty good to me, and it was very positive there at the campus. So a lot of good programs and such. So I enjoyed that. It was fun. I think I got to use the pool there a couple of times. So it was nice. It was nice.
He's the debate speech teacher here at Sterling. He's a role model for all students. Every time you see him, he's professionally dressed. Even on a down day, on a Friday, he's still professionally dressed. And he's the leader. He's not the follower. He has all those leadership qualities that you would look for in a teacher or a parent. He has those qualities. And so it just transpires to the students when they see him on a daily basis, doing everything the right way.
He tells the stories from when he was in debate, what he went through and what he wants us to go through. And he wants us to be something in life. He wants us to be successful, and we understand that. And I guess that's something that motivates us. He's like another dad to me. He's another dad or father to all the other students, because he, like I said, he respects us. And I guess he gets the information to us, and he gets all the information that we need, but more.
My mom, she was taking a real serious interest in my English class, and she was wondering why was I struggling. She came to visit with my teacher once, and the teacher suggested that I enter speech class. You learn different grammar techniques and how to go about using speech in a better way, and it correlates with English because you have to learn how to write sentences. For each student, he has a different technique because He gets you to present different things, and by you presenting, he's learning, he's taking notes, he's learning you. So he's taking all that, correlating it to how he teaches you, and that's the significant thing about Mr. Mayo. And when he said he had a debate program, I took serious interest into it because I like to argue. You know, my mom, you know, she suggested it anyway, but I love to argue, and Mr. Mayo took my negativity from the way I argue and made it into a positive thing, and by joining debate, it made it positive. As of today, you know, I'm doing excellent in my English class. I actually have a 98 in her class because of the different techniques that I learned to correlate with my work. You know, it has helped me a great deal.
This is a Title I school, but they come from a very poor socioeconomic background. Like with some of the things that I do, I'm used to having the students pay for debate in some particular aspects, but these kids cannot afford it. It's not your standard suburban school.
He always stays after school up to like 7 probably, when he doesn't have to, and he does, and he waits for us. If we don't show up, he'll still be here waiting for us to see if we show up.
I live in this classroom, okay? Everything I do revolves around this classroom. The reason why, because I love this atmosphere, the atmosphere of learning. I love it. It just brings me chills because I just love it, you know? It's just a passion, and it's Mr. Mayo's passion. That's what we share.
I do everything I can to make them feel good about themselves. There is nothing that they cannot achieve, especially in this particular environment. A lot of these students do not necessarily have any kind of more or less a strong support group or support at home, and school is their refuge. I want to emphasize to them that I'm here to support them and here to help them succeed in any possible way.
You know, it's not just about him teaching us, it's just that he's a great person. You know, you can always talk to him about anything. He's not the type to just do his hours and go home. He's one of those type, he lives in this classroom too. You know, he's here every day voluntarily until about 7 or 8 o'clock. And you know, it takes time, and that's the time Mr. Mayo is putting into us, and that's why we respect him the way we do.
The tutelage that I had while I was in the secondary education program under Dr. Sam Sullivan and Dr. Zuby, and I might also mention in the communication department, Dr. Terry Thibodeau and Debbie Hatton, gave me a lot of encouragement. I value what they taught me. I can tell you from the corporate standpoint, there's not a lot of self-gratification. Whereas in teaching, we're not here for the money. I mean, granted, money, you have to have it, but the best gratification you can see or receive back is seeing a young person succeed in something. The skills that I try to instill within them is going to be what they can take outside of this building, something they will carry with them, whether it be a job interview or just communicating, period. This is so much different than the corporate world because of what you can contribute and what you get back. And you get back something much more valuable than what's on a paycheck. I develop a very strong rapport with my students. I create, or do my best to create, a very friendly atmosphere, but also an atmosphere where there is no fear of ridicule, where everybody has an open opinion and can voice their opinion. But my students know that I care. And I think that's the bottom line. That's one of the key elements, I think, about being a successful educator, is that you not only have to love what you do, but you got to care about the kids.
Rachel is always teaching. She's a librarian, she's a teacher first, and she's always teaching the kiddos and never misses an opportunity to discuss a good book. Rachel's interaction with her students are just extraordinary. She's warm, she's compassionate. They come in at all hours of the morning, after school, bring their books in. Rachel loves to talk with them about the books.
She's extremely creative. She had this corner of the library set up as the Polar Express, and she was the conductor. She was punching tickets and reading the story, and the entire book was coming alive. Just as you saw today with Mary Poppins, she brings things to life with the books that the boys and girls read and her costumes and so on and so forth.
She has created Alice in Wonderland, and it was quite a wonderland in the library. And of course, this transcends over into our classrooms. It's kind of a bug. The teachers get the bug of the library and they bring it into their classrooms and into the grade levels.
I think her personality is that of a sweet, loving mother who happens to be very educated, and she wants to impart that on all of the students in this school. And I feel like that's how she treats our children, all like they're hers.
I'm a mother of 3 boys. My sons are 18, 15, and 13, and that was one of my prayers for them as they were newborns, is that they would develop a love of reading. So one of the reasons I went into library school is because I had so many bookshelves at home, and we would play with the books, had the books all over the floor, and made books so much fun. Acting out the stories and changing voices and just laughing and making stories fun. That's the best part of my job, is that I'm able to have fun every single day, and I want the students to know that reading can be one of the funnest aspects of their life as well. When I was an elementary school student, reading wasn't always my first choice. It didn't come easy to me. I had to struggle to get through a book. So I didn't have the love to read. And I think that every student develops in a different way. Every student learns to read in a different way. If you have a love and a desire to do something, you're going to work at it harder. I want students to look forward to coming here so that when they choose a library book to read that they're going to keep for a week or two, that they treasure that book and they have a positive attitude from the first time they put the book in their hand. They have a positive attitude about the library book, and that would help them to want to read past the first few pages of a book. I always tell the students that the very best part of the book is the second half of the book, because they've gotten to know the characters of the story and they feel at home with the book, and that's when they don't want to put it down, is once they've been past the first half.
Rachel works with our teachers in their professional learning communities. She works hand in hand with the teachers on leveling books for the students, making sure that the right level of book gets into the hands of our students, especially our struggling readers. A lot of times they struggle with books that are too hard for them. So she gets the right books, the right level, so that she can build on their reading levels, and of course that just enhances the reading in the classroom as well.
Beyond that, I know that she also is very involved with the students in other ways. For example, she organizes a social club for 5th grade girls. And then in addition to that, she also tutors students for the upcoming tax tests. And in addition to that, she mentors students. And in the past, she's been in charge of the Destination Imagination team.
And they have gone on to win 2 first place at regional and a 2nd place also at state. So they have done a very wonderful job.
She is a very nice person. We do a lot of fun things in the library every year. I like the library because she does a lot of reading out loud, and she also has some props, and sometimes she picks some students to act out stuff in the story. It's fun. I like coming to the library because the books are great, and Miss Bullen always reads really good books.
My mother was with Houston Independent School District for 46 years. She was a 4th grade teacher, and every year the 4th graders went to Huntsville as part of HISD's curriculum. They went to Huntsville every year, and I went with her class, whether I was in the 4th grade or not. I got to go with her, so I saw her interact with her 4th graders a lot. And in the end of her career, the last 20 years, she was an elementary school principal, and my sister is also a 3rd grade teacher in the Dallas area. So teaching is just a part of my family. My mother passed away about 7 years ago, and I wish she were here today. She would be very proud. When I was a stay-at-home mother, I used to drive through the carpool line for here at Middlestead Elementary, and this school had the best reputation in the area. Everyone loves this school, and it was my dream to come to work here. And I used to tell my mother, that's really where when I go back to work, I really want to work at Middlestead. And my mother used to say, oh, you've got your heart set on working at Middlestead, but you need to just open your mind to go someplace else, because you're probably not going to be able to teach at Middlestead. Oh, everybody wants to teach at Middlestead. My friend was in church in front of me and said, turned around at church and said, oh, the librarian's retiring. And so all through that service, I kept thinking, oh, the librarian's retiring at Middlestead. And I went the very next day and came and applied here. And the Lord has blessed me to be a part of this wonderful faculty. The teachers here are amazing. The principal is so supportive. I wouldn't be able to do all this fun activities that I do at just any school. My principal allows me to step out of the box and do what would be best for the children here at Middlestead.
You have to meet Maggie Selman to understand who she is as a person. She's very sincere, very kind, and that's what always impressed me about her. Anytime you're around her and you communicate with her, she's still passionate about students and about education.
The history of her involvement in Sealy schools goes back some 60 years. She started out as a teacher early on, and she became a principal, and probably one of the most renowned, respected principals that have walked the halls of Sealy schools. She was one of the leading educators that went out and got computers with as many as she could with the funds that she had, so her kids could be exposed to them.
It wasn't until my second day of school that I decided to become a teacher. I started school in 1925, and the first day I was determined not to go to school. I wasn't ever going to school, but my parents thought otherwise, and they got me there. I don't know how I got there the second day, but I was given a reading book, a book about Baby Ray. And after school that evening, I walked home, walked into the house, took my bonnet off and slammed it on the table. It was hot, you know. I took the Baby Ray book out of my book satchel, slammed it on the table, and I said to Mama and Daddy, I am going to be a teacher. And I never wavered from that. From that day on, my goal was to be a teacher. When I went to Sam Houston, the first semester, I was terribly homesick. And one weekend I met my parents in Houston, and I cried the whole weekend. And my father said to me, well, if it's all that bad, just drop out and come on home. And I was startled. I said, well, no, then I'll never be a teacher. And from then on, I just loved Sam Houston.
I came here as an assistant principal, and Ms. Selman was assistant superintendent here in charge of the curriculum. And so worked with her in that respect. And in a few years, I became superintendent, and she had since retired, but I knew that her involvement in the community in this school district had been so important, so vital to the success of our community and district that I had to keep her involved in some way. And that was not difficult to do. All I had to do was pick up the phone and she was there.
When I first became involved with her, I did not think she was retired because she was here so much. She was at the campuses visiting with teachers and was in and out doing things to help teachers, to help students, to help parents. So it was about 6-7 months before I finally asked where she worked, and Mr. Leckler, who was the superintendent at the time, said, she's been retired for quite a while, Scott.
I was 92 years old last April. I have been in education the full 63 years. I retired in the year 2000. Of course, education is the most important thing there could be in life. I keep up with the schools all the time because I just love school. I always have loved it, except for that first day. I taught so many boys and girls, But I remember Leroy very well. I taught Leroy, he was the oldest of 3 brothers, and I taught his 2 younger brothers. Both of them also became teachers. And I also taught Leroy's wife, Myrna Kay. I always enjoyed all of my children so much, and when I see them today, you know, they're not grown-ups. They're just the boys and girls that I used to have in school. And I see them so often. Now, I haven't seen Leroy in a number of years. He was a good boy, and he was a smart boy, and I'm not at all surprised that he's teaching at Sam Houston.
She was my 6th grade teacher, arithmetic teacher, and she was a good one. I remember the fairness and the firmness that she exuded as she did her classes. We wanted to, and maybe more for her than anybody else, to do things right.
My husband was in the bank, and all of the people in the bank are so good to me. Leroy Zappalak is president of the bank, and when I need something, all I have to do is call, and Leroy is right there.
I've actually known her all my life. She's a lifelong educator at Sealy Independent School District. I have known her through her husband here at Citizen State Bank. As a matter of fact, 40 some odd years ago, he hired me at Citizen State Bank. So I have a great love and respect for Miss Selman. The school still somewhat rotates around her. She still does a lot of planning with the school, and she's still involved at Christmas and at all their events. Some way, somehow, her presence is known, and it's because they want her there. It's not because she's insisting she be there. No, that's not the case at all. People at the school actually want her involved, and she loves it.
Maggie has been at Sealy her whole adult life and many, many years. We've served the Sealy ISD for over 40 years. And she was certainly an innovator in learning and instruction. One of the first administrators that introduced computers into the classroom and integrated technology in the classroom. She was always a lifelong learner herself, encouraging others to never stop learning. And I think, to me, really she was an individual who's been ahead of her time. One that was always looking to improve through staff development and making it where the teachers could do a better job in the classroom. We have a motto here at Region 6, those we serve deserve our very best, and Maggie always gives her very best. So we're proud of her and proud for her.
I think my greatest joy in having been in education for all these years is when I meet somebody that I have had in school, either as a student or as a teacher who taught under me, and see how successful they've been in life and know that they still remember me too.